Page 52, The Stranger. What they're doing here is introducing you to a chord progression. They're basing it on an A minor chord. It could be on any chord. Basically, we're just going to go down the keyboard a little bit. Look at the left hand at the beginning of this. On these notes, hold all the notes down. That is an A minor chord. I don't know if we've covered major and minor chords or not. I don't know. Take my word for it, it's an A minor chord. Look at the next measure. These, we just went down the keyboard to here. Third measure, look at those notes. It's here. Fourth measure, it's here. It would be here if we had them all. And then they added G sharp in the right hand, making it a major. That's the difference between major and minor on these chords. The middle note, major, it's a half a step up. That's the chord progression. That's what they're introducing. Something to keep in mind though, because it's really neat. Watch the fingering. I'm going to go to the right hand. Let's talk about the right hand. We talked about the chord progression. We're done with that. Right hand here. Starting out with 3-5. And the next measure, do a 2-4. That's fine. Third measure, look at that. It's 1-3 and then a 2-4. Good fingering. I like that. And then 2-3. And you can do a 2-3 on that last chord, the G sharp B, if you want to. If you don't want to use the thumb, you can do it. That's fine. I tend to play that last measure with a 3-4 because that lets me use the 2-4 on that last chord. And that's more comfortable for me. Second line, just follow their fingering, it's fine. Big deal. Third line, same as the first line. The last line, again, follow their fingering, it's fine. It falls under okay. The last measure, you have it here. Now, it's up to you how you finger this, but if you do it that way, you got to put your thumb on the B flat. If you don't want to do that, then you have to alter. You don't want a second finger on the D. You might play the first D with the second finger, but then change it up to maybe a 3-4. I could play the 8th note D with third finger, and then the half note with fourth finger. That's fine. That's more difficult, but it comes in handy sometimes, so try it out. Challenge yourself. You're not challenged by any of this anyway, right? Left hand, we already covered the left hand on the first one, but let's talk about the fingering here. We're starting out in this position, but then when you have the 8th notes, they want your fourth finger on that. It's in this position. The reason is because you're going to go down, you want your 5th finger for the next, so save your 5th finger, so it's here. And then second measure, same thing. You start the 8th notes with the 4th finger because you need your 5th finger for the next measure. And again here. You don't have to play in the last measure, the first line, you don't have to play them all with a little finger if you don't want to. You can switch it up. If you want to use other fingers, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Keep in mind when you go to the second line, you got to be down here. So if you could play that last note in the first line, maybe with the thumb, you're in position to go on. Those are things to think about when you're figuring out fingering. What's coming up next? What can I put myself, get ready for coming up? Second line is just going to be 5 and 1 pretty much throughout. Except the last measure, you're in an extended position. Third line's the same as the first. Fourth line's the same as the second pretty much. Except the last measure's here. When you go back to the top, because there's a D, C, F, fine, you're at the bottom in the last measure, and your 5th finger's got to go up to here. What you can do, if you want, is in the last measure, play that half note F with the 5th finger. I don't know if that's doable for you or not, but if the reason is it puts you in position to go back up, because now you can play the first note at the first line with 4th finger, and you're there. You can experiment with that. Otherwise, you got to go from thumb to 5th finger here. So can you go from thumb to here or thumb to here? Which is easier for you? I'm suggesting you go play the half note, the last note at the bottom with fifth finger. So you're going from here to here. Now, roadmap wise, there's a repeat sign at the end of the first line, so we're going to play it twice. The fermata at the end of the first line is after you do the DC al fine. You don't do the fermata going through originally. That's for the very end, because the piece ends there, the fine is there. The second line is repeated, we'll play it twice. The third line is repeated, we'll play it twice. Good Lord. The fourth line is repeated, we'll play it twice, and there's a note at the bottom, or above the fourth line, saying on the second time, play it an octave higher. So here is where it's written. You're going to play it up here. And that's right hand only. The left hand stays where it's at. It doesn't move. So when we do this play with me thing, I'm going to play the last line the second time an octave higher in the right hand. Now there's also an odd, I haven't talked a lot about dynamics. You can read the dynamics and do what they're saying, I hope. You play around with the dynamics. You can get loud and soft in the middle of these lines if you want. Have fun with it. But at the first line, there on the last two measures, between the stabs, there's some words in there. Last time, retard, and then there's an arrow meaning to get softer, decrescendo. So after you DC al fine, when you get to those last two measures in the first line, you can start getting slower and softer, and then the last note, you'll have that fermata where you just die away. That's kind of neat. This is a slow piece anyway, whatever slow is, you have to decide. Well, let's try this together slowly just to check the notes and the rhythms. Now, I'm not going to swing the eighth notes here. I'm going to play them regulars. This is more of a rock style thing, so we're just going to even eighth notes. You'll see at the bottom of the page for the electronic jamming and the note, they're telling you the rhythm is rock. They're not even giving you the option for jazz, so play the eighth notes even. And the string register would be nice. If you got strings on your keyboard, turn on the strings and play it with strings. That would be cool. It's probably easier during the play with me part of it if you left your register on piano so you can hear the notes more clearly. But when you're just playing it for yourself, then put the register on strings and have fun. And try other registers too. Experiment with different settings on your electronic keyboard and see what the different sounds are. It's neat. Alright, I'm going to give us 4 counts, so we'll begin. The right hand starts here, left hand's here. 1 and 2 and ready and go and... Repeat. The acoustic jamming at the bottom, I'll play that, and you can play your part. Remember to do all the repeats, and keep in mind my stuff might be different than yours, so you got to listen to me to stay with me, but you got to pay attention to what you're doing. So let's try this. Now I'm going to speed this up a little more like what the speed probably should be, or what I think the speed should be. So I'm going to give us 4 counts, and let's play this whole thing together. So put your hands where they go here. Here we go. 1, 2, ready and go, and 1 and 2. Repeat.